but as we are talking in Kampala, there is a lot of rain. So
Yeah,
we're not going to wait for her to reach here, but we are going to engage her in the Zoom as it comes to the command center at Kampala campus. So we are asking Madam Kantono to engage our participants and viewers on the expectations bismillah as we connect to Dr. Madina. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much, Mr. Adam. I think for the start, I can connect to the video so that I can get to engage with the participants. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh once again. Welcome to the afternoon session of the 34th annual Ramadan convention of the Islamic University in Uganda. This is our second virtual convention, and I am very excited to have you here. I am your moderator of the afternoon session, Rahima Kantono, and I am excited about the amazing conversation we are going to have here this afternoon. Before we begin, I would wish to inform members that this session is being recorded. However, it is a free space, so we are safe. We can be very free and lively and contribute when the time comes for asking questions as we wait for the presenter to come in. I've not seen her online. I don't know whether they have not connected her yet. Dr. Madina? Dr. Madina, are you on? Okay, I'm sorry, I needed to introduce her when she's around, but I think for the meantime, we can continue as we wait for her. Dr. Madina Nabukera is going to be our host, our presenter for this afternoon session. She holds a PhD in public administration and a master's degree in public administration, specializing in local government. She also holds a postgraduate diploma in education management and a postgraduate diploma in public administration. She's also a holder of a bachelor's degree of public administration of the Islamic University in Uganda. Currently, Dr. Madina is the director of the Mighty Females Campus of the Islamic University in Uganda, and she's also a senior lecturer in the Faculty of Management. I am very humbled to be the moderator of this super lady. I can't wait to listen to the conversation that we are going to have with her. You know, gender issues, sometimes people think they're only about women, but gender issues are issues pertaining both men and women. They are issues that pertain families. If we talk about gender, we are talking about the father and the mother in the home and the children and the kind of life they live, the kind of treatment they get, because that is what the Holy Quran describes. It describes life of man and woman, of a mother and a father, of the children, of the entire ummah. So that is the gender. And tonight we are going to have Dr. Madina Nabukera to discuss the gender sensitivity in and awareness within the Muslim institutions. She will also discuss the challenges and the prospects therein. So as we wait for her, maybe we can also go through to unpack a little bit of the kind of topics that she's going to discuss. She's first going to discuss the issue of gender equity. Of course, we have had a lot of discussions about gender awareness, the gender equality, the women emancipation, and so forth. So she's going to help us differentiate between gender equity and equality. And she will bring in the Islamic version, what Islam says about gender, about man and woman. She's going to talk about the place of a woman in Islam. Of course, it does not mean that she's going to forget about men, but she's going to discuss the general idea. Then from there, she will also discuss gender awareness. What do people know about gender? And when do people start to learn about their gender? So what happens as we orient our children as they grow? How do we communicate to them? She's going to look at whether as parents we are always gender sensitive when we are bringing up our children or not. And then afterwards, she's going to look into institutions and giving specific examples of how institutions are handling the gender issue. For example, when they are recruiting or when they are doing promotions, are they done on merit or they look at a woman as a woman? And after that, even if we shall see so many advantages and the way, even if we are going to hear from her so many advantages, as in how gender has been uplifted in Islamic institutions, she's also going to discuss the challenges and give the prospects. So that is what we are going to have in this afternoon session. I can see from the participant list that she has not yet logged on. Okay, she's now here. Dr. Medina, you're most welcome. Please unmute your microphone.
Thank you very much, Madam Cantono, for having me.
Yes, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you. It's unfortunate that you have been caught up somewhere. We pray that you reach so soon at the command center. And if possible, if your network is okay, I would request you to at least share your video for the start as you introduce yourself. I've just given a brief profile about you, and I would wish, thank you so much. I can see you now. Yeah, that is my super lady. So as we wait for Dr. Medina to reach the command center, she's going to take us through the presentation. Maybe I was telling members about you, like introducing you, telling them about your profile and the topics that you're going to discuss. We are very excited to hear about gender. Gender is an issue that is rarely discussed at such forums, but we are very glad that this time around the presenters have thought about it. So I please members, all the participants online and those ones who are listening via news media, join me to welcome Dr. Medina Nabukera, the presenter of this afternoon session. You're most welcome, Madam.
Thank you very much, Madam Cantono Rehma, the PRO. It is nice having me. Those listening in, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I prepared slides for this presentation, and I have shared with the command center. So I would request that they share these slides for the benefit of the rest of those viewing and listening in. Okay, so thank you very much. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Amma ba'd. I have greeted members with the best of greetings. I have been well introduced, and we are discussing a very sensitive issue on gender sensitivity and awareness in Muslim institutions. And I think from the onset, I need to say that I will use IUIU as a case study because IUIU is one of those successful Muslim projects in Uganda, in the East African region and sub-Saharan Africa, but also IUIU IUIU.
Sorry, we are going to have some interruptions because she's traveling, but I know it is not going to last long.
So I'm working with the education sector. I use the IUIU as a case. Can I go to the next slide, please? Okay, gender and its concepts. So we need to know what is gender. As the one in the command center takes me to the next slide, we need to understand the definition gender and sex, because we need to know, and unless we unpack the definitions, members might not understand. So what is gender? Socially determined or constructed. So you and me and other members, we construct it. We define it socially within our social communities. You will say this is a boy, this is a girl. And by saying that, you have socially defined it. You even give me roles, that my role is A, B, C, D. A woman is supposed to serve tea. A woman is supposed to clean the house. A woman should not go so high in her education, because even if a rat grows fatter, it is, a rat, it will be definitely eaten by a cat. So perceptions and expectations. Our societies have different perceptions for the girls and different perceptions for the boys. Acceptable roles and attitudes. You will find that in some societies, we have acceptable roles and the attitude. Your mother will do not behave like that. You are a girl. You will shame me in community to be someone who is not well behaved, but definitely not a girl. So your mother, during your growth in a family, a girl must be well behaved, a girl must know how to. We are told we must have, because we are girls. And there are those attitudes that are trained for boys because they are boys.
Okay, sorry members, we are going to have interruptions. I can see.
It is really important that we know the acceptable roles and attitudes that we actually have in societies and in communities, given what societies have defined. Then we have
Dr. Madina, we have lost you. We have lost you. Your network is on and off. I don't know if you have reached Kampala campus. I would request that you first reach the center where they are broadcasting from. I don't know if you can hear me. Dr. Madina, can you hear me? Hello.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yes, Mr. The doctor is being brought at the command center.
Okay.
So we pray that the members wait for around 2 minutes, but you can engage us a bit.
Okay, yeah, according to what she was discussing, I think she's talking about the gender orientation since from childhood. When a child is born, like our society shapes what we think and what we are and what we believe in. Many parents, when the way we orient our children, we look at gender, we orient our children and nurture them to believe that there are some roles that are for women and others are for men. And yet the times now have changed. We are not living in the traditional times. We have different expectations. Right now, when a parent is nurturing a child, it's very different from how they used to do it. But the expectations are still the same. That when someone is going to that when someone is going to, for example, if someone is bringing up a girl child, they want them to become someone. They want them to become the best teachers, the best lawyers, and maybe doctors and so forth. So they don't take this time to nurse this child and orient them about marriage and the marriage life and so many others. So which cause problems. I can see that Dr. Medina is now in. Dr. Medina, your voice is off, but I can see you signaling something.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah, I'm finally here.
MashaAllah.
So I want to continue. I was talking about the learned behaviors. These learned behaviors, society has constructed them. And they keep on telling you, you cannot behave in a certain way as a girl child. Your mother will tell you, your aunties will tell you, your father will tell you, the bigger clan will tell you, be humble, greet everyone. And that doesn't necessarily mean that boys do not have those learned behaviors, but they will keep on separating which learned behaviors are acceptable for a girl and a boy. Now, these learned behaviors, the roles and attitudes change over a period of what? Of time. They definitely do. For example, if we are talking of gender in 2021, it's not same gender issues we are discussing in the 1980s. Then you would not talk about issues that touch women or a girl child. Today you can. So there are changes over a period of time. And these changes have been dictated so much because of what society has constructed. For example, gender-based violence. We all know it happens in families, and our societies have always told us, you are not supposed to talk about bedroom issues with anybody else. So issues that hurt you as a married woman, as a married young girl, remain in you, they torture you, they torment you, they affect your life because they have told you that you're not supposed to say. Now that brings me to, it varies from one culture, ethnicity, and religion. But over time, we see that the world has come up to fight for the rights of women because of the way it has been constructed that women are being oppressed. And these changes we see that have happened over a period of time because of the excessive gender-based violence that young girls were getting in schools, young married women were getting in families, and what ladies were facing at their workplace. So this brought in a lot of concession agreements as we continued to, please next slide. As we continue to understand gender, we need to differentiate between gender and sex. Can I please go on the next slide? Okay, So we need to differentiate between gender and sex. So what is sex? What is gender? So sex is that biological aspect that differentiates a girl from a boy. I think viewers are not, we are still on the previous slide here. Yeah. We need to go to the next slide from what the viewers are viewing. It is still the same slide. Okay. So when we talk about gender and sex, sex is just that biological feature that differentiates a boy from a girl. But when we go to gender, we will look at the roles and the attitudes that we in societies have decided to construct within our societies. Okay, so it is important that we know that sex is that biological difference, and it does not change, by the way. It doesn't change. But gender, I said, changes over a period of what? Of time. So the social differences for sex, it is biological, it doesn't change. For gender, it is social and it changes. So it changes over a period of what? Of time. Gender norms. Now, which of these are issues to do with gender norms? Many of you have heard of aspects to do with it is only women who give birth. It is only women who breastfeed what? Children. It is only women who handle the crying baby. But even a man can do that. We have heard people saying, having sex with your husband is a female duty. And we have even, we know that even the Holy Quran will tell you that as a woman, you have an obligation to fulfill your marital duties. But there is a way society exaggerates it. Men are good at logical and analytical thinking. Women are not. But still that is not true. So these are gender norms that society has decided. Men are masculine and therefore they are more energetic than what? Than women. But we know that there are women who actually have a lot of energy beyond men. So real men don't cry. What is wrong with a man crying? You can cry because you see, shedding your tears could be one of the ways to deal with your emotional understanding and acceptance and deal with your existing problems. So we have had a lot in terms of gender norms. Women are the only ones to breastfeed babies, not men. Even in meetings in IUIU, I witnessed this when they serve tea during tea time and the tea lady is not around. Your fellow colleagues who are men will tell you, you Madina, go and serve tea, because for us, me, I'm a man, I don't serve tea. But you can serve me tea and you lose nothing as a what? As a man. So society, members, I just want us to understand this concept of gender. Socially constructed roles and attitudes by society. The society has decided to name certain roles as so for women and certain roles as so for men. So how many times have you heard men will say, women like they're the only people who are supposed to bleach and put on makeup because they want to look good. I don't know if there is any man who wants to look bad. So, and probably that is why today we are seeing very many men bleaching and also probably wearing some bit of cosmetics. They are there. We have seen men today who are braiding their hair. So we used to be socially constructed in some of these norms because this is what society has decided. So we need to know the gender norms. Okay, gender roles. Here I've given a case study of Egypt. Men used to do weaving in Egypt so many years ago. hundreds of years. But in Uganda, I think men doing weaving has started recently in either the 90s. So it wasn't a role for the men, but it is a role for the men now because we have changed the attitude. Women inherited property so many years ago. We know that we have cultures in Uganda where women are not allowed to inherit property until when an act was passed by parliament that women have a right to inherit what? Property. So the study of 224 cultures indicated that 5 men did cooking and 34 women built houses. But we know that society has socially constructed construction or building houses as a male role than a female role. Although today we see that a lot of girls are coming into engineering field, that is now what you would call construction engineering, electric engineering, and many other fields. So it is important that we get to understand these gender roles because it is what society has constructed, and we need to see what we are going to do on how we unpack using the Quran, Hadith, and Sunnah as a case study of IUIU and see how all this can be handled. Then men in education, they will tell you that men are leaders, women are followers. And this is surprising me because it surprises me because even the IUIU Act, by the way, states, I applaud members of IUIU, the staff, academic and administrative staff to go and read the Act of IUIU. That is what we use as a legal framework that made IU exist in Uganda since 33 or 32 years ago. And that act says a rector will only be a male Muslim. But also women can be rectors. We are having very many successful top administrators in IUIU. We have an academic registrar, Dr. Halima. She served as a former director. She served as a dean. She has been in all positions in IUIU. You mean she cannot be a rector? Maybe if we unpack the act and we say, they say the men, but it means that we come from the ribs of a man, therefore it also means a woman. So we are looking forward to having a woman rector as well, because women have proved that they can. We have PRO, we have director females campus, we have deans of different faculties, we have professors, all these are women. You mean they cannot rule IUIU? They can. So are we going to leave this on paper, or we want to unpack and say, by saying a male Muslim, it also meant a female Muslim? And then we contextualize it in that way. So women are not followers, members, as we shall see from the Quran and the Hadiths, from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We shall see that women were lifted. We are above men, according to the Quran. And we want to see this happening, especially in Muslim institutions like IUIU. Women are not the same. By the way, we are not the same. And this justifies the reason why men are failing to balance among the 4 wives, 4, 3, 2. Any man who is listening in this topic will actually tell us that they can never find a balance. The reason men are failing to balance their relationships, especially those brothers who have married more than one, is because women are not the same. We are not of the same age. We are not of the same ethnicity. We are not of the same education. We are not of the same language. We are not of the same class. And we are we are all not able. Some people have some bit of disabilities, although disability is not inability. So now, because we are not the same, this brings us to gender discrimination. Examples from our day-to-day lives will show you that gender discrimination is everywhere. It is in education, it is in politics, it is in families. So you will see that I remember there was a time when the wife of former President Clinton was standing for power in America, and she was asked the last 5 years ago, who designs your clothes? So who is your designer? And she answered profusely and said, would you ask that question to a man? So this is what society constructs. When you meet President Museveni, the president of this great country, can you ask him about a designer? But when you meet maybe a small person at a given institution and she's a leader, a politician, members of parliament, you know, speaker of parliament, prime ministers who are female, they will be asked, who is your designer? Who is your salonist? Are those really important? Why don't you ask the same questions to a man? So men are rarely asked about the impact of education to their families. Why? Because society has constructed you as the primary caregiver. So it is okay for you to go for education, get a lot of money, come and provide for your wife. But for women, now for example, many of my friends ask me, but hey, you like education, you even went up to PhD level. Then I said, I will even go for postdoc, doctoral studies. And then they say, oh, no, you like books, no, give time to your family and your children. Who told you I don't? It is only me who knows how I budget my time with my family, not you. So you will see that society has already constructed that a woman must have a certain limit. And therefore, you're not supposed to go over and over producing more children. You even have a few. You know, can you ask this to a man? So for me, this is my problem, that when we look at gender, we have socially constructed some of these things, and they are seriously affecting the way we are supposed to develop this country by giving our contribution. Women in education have to prove themselves. When they give, for example, I want to give an example of Director Kampala campus and Director females campus. When they give Director Kampala campus and it is a man, Dr. Matovu Musa, they will say he will manage because he is a man. But when they gave me as the Director females campus, hey, you should know what people say. They simply said, how will she manage? You look at her size, look at her weight, look at this. So, people would now start constructing that one semester is enough for her to fail. But nobody understands your potential, your ability, that are a bit intrinsic and hidden. So you might not necessarily know whether I have the character traits of a leader or not. So let me tell you, even from the time I got that position till now, you keep asking yourself, but if this is what people think I am, will I manage? And if you are not ready to unpack and have what we call an internal locus of control that is very positive to push you ahead and do your job, you definitely fail, because society is having a construction about you. Then women politicians get bad reputation. We know that politicians do all sorts of bad things, but for men, maybe let me just give an example of adultery. If a man who is in politics is got with another woman's, with another married woman, everything is okay. Men do those things, it's okay. But if it is a woman who is caught in that same act, I'll tell you, you will struggle to tell the world that you had a genuine reason for misbehaving. So society is strongly constructing female and male in terms of behavior, attitude, and norms. And this is really, really affecting how women are supposed to work. Then comments on women's hair and clothes. I think this I have already mentioned something about it. So really, is it really important? I might be a woman with a veil, but with no hair. Okay. This brings me to gender equality. And the most interesting part as we head in this discussion will be what the Quran says about this specific topic. So in gender equality, we have what we call stereotyping. And I have put two shirts there. There is one for a girl and for a boy, and they are for babies. But the stereotyping is generally negative. So the idea, the place that many people believe it is what? It is true. So we have been hearing of a lot of stereotypes for women and not necessarily for men. And these stereotypes have a lot of impact on women in terms of how society is constructing us and making us believe in who we are than what we think we can do. And it is our responsibility to unpack this so that we can move on to the next word, to the next level. Because the youth now can construct the gender roles again. I don't know how many women are listening into this conversation, but I want to know how many ladies who are working genuine employment and they are cooking food for their husbands every day. You are cooking lunch and cooking supper for your husband, and you're doing it yourself. So if men do not unlock this fear that a woman is supposed to look after you, look after the children, but she has no right to go out there and work and support her family in maybe its development, is something that I keep wondering as a woman. I really think our parents invested a lot of money so that we can become assets in future than liabilities. In any case, there is no man today who wants a liability called a woman. When so many men come to females campus, Muslim men, and they want to marry ladies genuinely, because they hear it is a females campus, so they know there are ladies there that genuinely want to get married. And indeed, we are doing this. We connect men who are ready to officially marry off these girls, you know, so that we don't create a scarcity of lack of men from these ladies. However, from the requirement that I hear very many put up, you know, what level of education, which is GPA. In other words, they want to know the scores. Is she bright? You know, will she be in position to understand me when I say this? Will she have a very good degree that can enable her get a job? Why is this now becoming a requirement? Yet, Rosie, years, so many years ago, 30, 100 years, it wasn't about a lady's education. But today, many men are putting it up as one of the requirements. So we need to really understand. So gender equality further, gender stereotype. Be a woman, but behave like a man. So every time we keep asking ourselves, yes, I'm a woman, and then they ask you, can you open this bottle of that, of soda? So like a girl, but be a man. So we need to remain in our biological shape as women, but our acts can actually be a male, because we need to prove to men that there is so much we can do that they do. And that brings me to that slide where I have, you mean a woman can open this? Yes, a woman can do it. So I'm unpacking that there is a lot of things, or there are a lot of things that women can do that men do. So be a woman, you know, like a woman in your biological shape, but your genderness and how society has constructed you should not stop you from unpacking yourself and doing so much that men can do, so that you can look for survival. it does not hurt. Then it is also important that we look at the gender history. So many years ago, women were seen as less human beings from men. And this is very surprising and annoying. And the husbands were the Lord be of the keepers. So your husband was like the Lord in the house. You know, much respect, no discussion. Whatever he says is right. You're not supposed to answer him. You're not even advised. But is this what the Quran says, members? We have a Quran that has stated that women are far above men. And it has also stated that women are supposed to be taken care of by men. And it also says that men are supposed to listen to us when we give them advice. And it has mentioned mother, before even mentioning what? Father. We have our own sky that Allah has blossomed on us. But I think men are just bringing the verses that they know can use against us than unpacking really what the Quran said. So the head of the family, the supreme head, the sovereign head is a man. I see many families today being headed by females. But by just nature of the way roles have changed, I said roles are now changing. If you get married to a man who does not understand his role as a Muslim man, as stated in the Quran and Hadith, what do? You already married to him. You will not divorce. Marriage is an amana, you know, and you decide to work for your family. You end up being the bread winner. And I don't know, does that make you a woman as sovereign? So women could not stand up for themselves so many years ago, thousands of years ago. It is also very clear that women could not vote. In 1920s, 1960s, in 1920, women could not vote, even in United States of America, the country that talks about democracy and how it began democracy in the whole world. In 1960s, they formed societies and trying to talk about the unfairness that women were having during that time, so that they bring light out of darkness. In 1918, women finally were accepted to vote. But until 1920s, still not everybody was agreed to vote. Now, in 2021, if I may give that as an example, all women voted in Uganda. So later on, we unpacked that into every woman having the right to vote, rights to work. So women and honoring rights became one of the concession agreements that Uganda as a country has signed. And when we talk about good democratic governance, we talk about respect for human rights. So discrimination, you know, equality, rule of law, all these have definitely come out. So we can all vote now. And it is a good thing that you enable women participate in these activities. Now, we see that in different years from 1920 to 1994, we came from sides where women could not become lawyers to when it becomes illegal for a husband to rape. Thousands of years, how would you tell anybody that my husband has raped me? But today, we even know that recently the government of Uganda, through the parliament, they have passed an act. And this act will actually work on men who think that they can forcefully go on their women. So you must negotiate. It must be a negotiation and acceptance, not by what? By force. We have come a long way from no property to property. But this is what we are saying. Islam has accepted us to own property. I can own property from my husband and own property from my father. So I even earn it twice. But all this is hidden. It is not mentioned. Why? Because men and society has constructed women to understand certain things differently and accept certain roles by force. And I think that is what will affect us so much if we do not understand what gender is. Now, some statistics here. 10% of women earn less compared to men. So if you have a female manager and a male manager, the female will be given less money and they will say, but she's married to a husband who is taking care of her. The question is, are we doing the same, performing the same duties? Yes. If we are, then that is not right. So women, 75% of women are working in jobs that do not have a minimum wage. Then we also have 55% of women take part in the labor market. Where are the 55? Where are they? At home, in their full-time job, depending on what society has constructed. So further, in understanding statistics on the next slide, it is very important that we understand that you can feel bad. There's a certain percentage of women, 16%, who feel bad about their appearance. Do you know that? When someone says you are fat, you are meant to be told by men that fatness is not good. So as a woman, you must be thin. You end up eating less because you want to keep in shape. Really. Society has constructed us to fulfill male desires. We have forgotten about ourselves, but that is not what the Quran says. If I am fat and it is our gene from my parents, should I kill myself? Feel happy about your size. So this is what society, especially men in society, have made us believe. 20% of boys are extremely concerned about their leading to depression and drugs. So if you know that this is what society is constructing, then protect your child. How? Take them to religious schools. Let them understand what Allah has said and let them move in the correct words, in the correct path. So there can be so many statistics. Statistics on education. Evidence that 20% of girls put off science because they are difficult or they are for boys. And this is how we have ended up having less women in science and more men in what? In science. When you go to the nursing profession, you will even see even the Nurses Council and UNIMED clearly wants less boys in the nursing field than ladies. Why? Because women are primary caregivers by nature. This is it. Society, laws are constructing things in that line. And now this brings me to what brought change. And this is sexual violence. 1 in 3 teen girls experience sexual violence from boys. Apart from Islamic University, in other universities in Uganda, if you don't have a boyfriend at a university, you are done. You are considered to be a girl. So society, in those universities, they will tell you that it is fashion to have a boyfriend. But what are you doing with that boyfriend? Everything you do with him is haram. There is nothing like boyfriend, girlfriend. If you feel you cannot control your desires, then get officially what? Married. So you see that sometimes society in the environments where we grow from, they start constructing some social adapted behaviors that end up sweeping us in the wrong direction. Now, the day that girl becomes pregnant, the boy will tell that girl, for me, I don't produce. I did, is it called vasectomy? I don't produce. The girl will now suffer. Society will deny her. To her parents, she will be a spoiled girl. You know, and she ends up being a life failure. This is what we are talking about when it comes to gender equality. So the bullying, the sexual violence are acts that we must fight. And I'm happy to say that in the institutions that are Islamic like IUIU, we boldly fight these social behaviors so that they do not affect the girl the girl child. I am happy to say that today I enjoy my time in the kitchen because the kitchen now is not the kitchen 100 years ago. I can now cook a meal in 30 minutes. So you need to empower yourself as a woman, as a girl, child, to make sure that you equip your kitchen with the gadgets you need to be in position to cook a very good meal, but in a limited time. Where would I get time to cook on firewood? I don't have it, but I can cook a very good meal with gas. And then, mashallah, your husband or my husband will feed on that meal and says, yes, thank you for cooking. So we need to look at where we have come from and where we want to go. And so that is then and now. As people who are looking for gender equality. I'm not in line with what is on that screen, so please go ahead. When you go for Google search and put women should, the first items that will appear in your Google search will be women stay at home, women should not work, women should be seen, not heard. I even remember, I think last week, there was a share on social media that actually worked on a video and said women are supposed to stay at home. And when I heard it, I strongly wanted to ask so many questions, but I said, I think because I'm not a guru in religious education, I shouldn't tamper. I might be challenged strongly. But I asked colleagues I work with, can you show me the verse in the Quran that has said this? Even when I was carrying out this research, I wanted to know. Please continue. I wanted to know, where is that verse that a woman should not work? When one of the prophets one of the wives of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam was a successful businesswoman. So that search, those are the first 3 searches you will get. Many others will come, but these are the first ones. And then you see how society has constructed this. Now, this takes me to the religious perspective of gender equality. From the research that I did, it is permissible for a woman to be an authority in areas that she is qualified. And we have also, we read in the Quran that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam was given advice by some women, and this advice was taken and it changed the events of the day in terms of the wars that they were fighting to bring Islam. So some positions are specific only for men. And really, I think this kind of saying, although some positions are specific only for men, such as the position of leading men in Swala, we know that that is a no-go area. A woman cannot lead prayers. But that does not mean a woman should not command an army. That does not mean a woman should not lead an institution. So it is incorrectly claimed by some people that women cannot have authority in Islam because men have been given the responsibility to lead, defend, maintain the livelihood of what? Of women. We know that Allah has given you that right to take over us, to take care of us, to make sure we are happy. Because a happy woman will cherish her family, will see love in the family, will love the husband. And a lovable husband or a lovely husband is one who will go and perform his duties successfully. So we are really looking for knowledge. On the next slide, we have Surah Al-Nisa, 434. And this says, the favor of men over women refers to the physical strength. Refers to the physical strength that men are strong, or were looked at to be very strong than women. So which enables men, or which enabled men during prophet's time to fight during the war times. So the psychological or sociological difference between men and women in this is ignored. And it is important for us today to understand that in professional areas like sports, you know, you see that women are less. In construction fields, you see that women are what? Are less. So even though there are plenty of exceptions to this observation, rules are formulated based upon the majority of what? Of cases, not the exceptions. So it is really key that we understand the sociological difference between men and women in this regard, and cannot be ignored that today professions are many where we have few women and more men. Then we look at Ibn Hijr, and here the Prophet once consulted his wife Salam on a serious matter, and she provided the advice. And it is permissible to consult your wife, because Salama was consulted by the Prophet, and she gave a brilliant idea, which idea led to success. So majority of men, or men, some men look at women as an inferior sex. And when you say advise the husband, you say, what do you know? Now, if you construct me that I don't know, you don't understand what that means to a woman and the effect it has in terms of gender. So men need to understand, need to read, they need to do research, because these are not my words. I am citing sources where I got this information. Islam is very clear on the position of what? Of women. Then we continue on Al-Akbar 1251. Do not be excessive in dowry of women. A woman said, it is not so. O woman, for Allah said, and you gave a great what? For Allah said, and you gave a great amount. Umar said, indeed, a woman has challenged Umar, and she has defeated him. Even so, a woman may assume any position of leadership as long as she is the most qualified person for a job. Samra binti ni haki. For example, was a woman in times of companion who was placed in charge of policing the marketplaces. So we are seeing this having happened during the time of the prophet, and nobody can deny this. So this is proof that women can be unpacked and they can be leaders. Hadija radiyallahu anhu was a successful businesswoman. She was a wife to the prophet, and she supported the prophet financially in his struggles. So this is also to prove that there is no cause really to ideally stop a woman from succeeding in any of the ventures that she has decided to do, whether being employed, whether being self-employed, because we see that one of the wives was a successful businesswoman. Next, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was very impressed and said, whenever I turned my face to the right and left, okay, we continue for the benefit of those who are viewing. And he said, when I look at my left and right, I see that he saw that there is a wife fighting before him. And this was a dream. For those who know a lot about the Quran, it was reported that by the end of the battle, she had yes, a minute. Yes, by the end of the battle, she had got 13 wounds on her body, and she spent over a year before healing took place. So in that battle of Huyana, she played an effective role. And this shows you that women can actually participate in very many areas and can support, and whatever they do can be successful. Then we also see Bint Mihran, where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was heard saying, what is important is to highlight the way in which the Prophet responded to the people, especially those that wanted to serve during war times and they were women. So it is very important that the reason that sometimes he refused the others to do so was not necessarily that women have a role at home to do, but they considered men to be more strong than than women. Then we also see that there are many people that reject the permissibility of women as leaders, but many of them who do so by quoting a hadith. The nation with a woman ruler will never succeed. Okay, and this is what they use, and they are right. But what is the context of this statement. So we need to put things into what? Context. Other scholars have called up for more contextualization and understanding of this hadith. They argue that this hadith was narrated in specific reference of the kingdom of Persia, not necessarily at all times. And these were also long times. Is it right that a nation that is ruled by a woman will never succeed? So we need to contextualize and unpack some of then we look at the aspect to do with the what is permissible in this. The creator of heaven and earth has made us pairs. So Allah has put man and woman as human beings, even animals as cows, so that we complement one another. And there is no mistake that he has done that. There is no way you will compliment when you're not giving advice to one another and advice is not taken. So it is important that we look at both genders as the same, and we are all created to serve Allah, not for any other reason. We are created to serve what? To serve Allah. So in a fashion that we were created, the sole reason was to serve Allah jealously. So it is important that we look at ourselves as the same. So both genders are dignified and are trustees of Allah. According to the Quran, you are not blamed. Women's being pregnant or their ability to carry babies and breastfeed them is not a curse, but it is a blessing. Imagine a world without women. There would be no creation. So even when a woman does not produce alone, but a woman has more responsibilities after this baby has been created until she dies. She is a primary caregiver. And this is what society has constructed. So you bear this child, you connect with this child, you give birth to her, you breastfeed her, you are connecting. So that connection is what keeps us together with our children more than what? More than men. So in the narration of the story of Adam and Eve, where people say that we were blamed because we are the ones who told Adam to eat the what? The forbidden what? Fruit. And therefore we were graced upon all these burdens on earth. I think it depends on how you contextualize that. For me, I look at it as a blessing other than a what? A curse. Then Quran 3:195, men and women have the same religious duties and what? Responsibilities. They both face consequences, and Allah has accepted them, and we will all be answerable. So if you don't serve Allah and move according to the Islamic faith, you will be answerable as a man, equal as a what? As a woman. So there is nowhere they will forgive Medina, and because she's a woman and she did not follow the Islamic principles, and punish Hussein because he too did not. So both man and woman, Hussein and Medina, if we both don't follow, we shall be what? Punished equal. And if we both follow, we shall be rewarded what? Equal. So we are looking at gender what? Equality in what? In Islam. For Muslim men and women, that is in the Quran 33:35. For Muslim men and women, and for believing men and what? And for true men and what? And women. And for patient men and what? And women. And for humble men and what? When you look at this, it does not just say a man, but it is saying man and what? And woman. So Allah is calling upon us, men and what? Women. Men and what? Women. In that equal form. to do or perform duties for why we were created, and that is solely to serve what? To serve Allah, endlessly and jealously. When I move on to next, the messengers of Allah, peace be upon them, during the demands and physical suffering associated with the roles that they held and the prophet, you will see that in Sharia, we also see the issue of property rights in marriage. He is already said. I was attending a burial where an elderly person died at an age of 110, and she had a granddaughter who spent all her life looking after her. And during burial, one of the caregivers, an elder, and the oldest son stood up and said, I am giving all the property of my former mother to the caregiver. And the minute he gave the mic to the sheikh said, no, this is not how we distribute what? Property. The Quran has already stated how property should be distributed. And after the distribution, those who want to give her will give her. So it was a Muslim burial. And the person who said, don't ask me, this is my decision, was a Muslim man of an age between 40 and 50. And he doesn't know what Sharia has said about property sharing. So it is very important that we understand that as women, Sharia has already designated our percentage in sharing of property, whether for our parents or our husbands. And that is already stipulated. So we have financial security. The Quran has given us that equality in Islam, so we have it. The Quran 30:21. Education is not only a right, but also a responsibility for Muslim men and what? And women. Prophet said, peace be upon him, seeking knowledge is mandatory for all Muslims, men and what? And women. So this is it. When you further read, you will find that marriage in Islam is based on mutual love, respect. Mutual love and respect. So in Islam, we do not want to even think of gender what? Violence. Because Allah has already ordered Muslim men to take care of their women, love them jealously and provide for them. So you can see that equality is already there. Actually, Allah said that even when you don't love her, be empathetic to her. And that is why Muslim men were allowed to even marry more wives, because I can annoy you and you get hurt. But it doesn't necessarily say divorce me, but marry another one. And be kind to me, even if you no longer love me. So there is no mistreatment. Allah did not talk about mistreatment of what? Of women. And that is the equality. So we look at the Quran 30:21. It urges husbands to be kind and considerate to their wives. Gender what? Equality. It also tells you further, if you dislike them, please treat them well, even when you don't like them. So this mandate is already there. So believers, men and what? And women, you are protectors. And Allah has joined you together so that we enjoy the companionship amongst our what? Ourselves. This is gender what? Gender equality in Islam. So there is no text in the Quran. As I finalize gender equality in Islam, there is no text in the Quran, in the Hadith and the Sunnah that prevents women from leadership, except in leading prayers The ultimate objective of a man or woman is selflessly to serve Allah appropriately. And that is why we were created. So even now we are doing a dawah activity. You know, may Allah accept our sacrifices. People in the command center, those writing the program, secretary dawah, mashallah, we are serving Allah. So the diverse practice in the Muslim countries often reflects on the cultures and the interpretation of Sharia. Because you may find that we have diverse interpretations in the way we contextualize this. So how does any one of you, he said, I quote him, beat a wife as if you're beating a camel, and you go and have a good sleep? So they don't even expect you to beat your wives. There is no gender violence in Islam. It isn't there. Any man who is beating a wife, unless again he's going to talk about contextualization, that it depends on the crime. But you have been told really that you cannot beat your wife as if you're beating a camel and then you go and sleep well. So we have already been protected, and in Islam there is gender what? The challenge here is the practice and implementation that societies have socially designated in understanding roles of a man and roles of a what? Of a woman. So looking at many injunctions from the Sunnah and the Quran, conditions have already been set. Please, men, be very kind. Give attention to your wives. Look after them, ensure they are happy. In the end, they will return what? Happiness. So that is what gender equality talks about in what? In Islam. And after doing this research of gender equality in Islam, I felt like I am getting too little than what I'm supposed to get from even my husband. And I shared these slides and I said, you know, give me more depending on what Allah has already what? Ordained on us, the women. So we would not be having this. And having talked about gender equality in the world view and in the view of Islam, now I go to gender sensitivity. Are we
Dr.
really
Madina.
sensitive? Yes, please.
Dr. Madina, just a moment.
Please.
Yeah, thank you so much for that part of the presentation. I would wish to remind you that we have now used 1 hour and 21 minutes. So our presentation, our session is supposed to end at 4, so we shall have to rush through the slides. We have some questions on that part, but I think we shall answer the questions at the end of the session. We shall leave some minutes. Okay, please, let's continue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So gender sensitivity, are we really sensitive? We need to understand sexual disaggregation. We need to know policy. We need to know the statistics. We need to understand how to monitor gender equality. We need to understand the articles that Uganda as a country has signed in line with the gender sensitivity. So we need to be sensitive. We need to understand that it exists and it is here with us. And how do we use the world view in relation to the Quran so that we create these opportunities, make people more aware, and we try to implement it in our institutions. And this now takes me to the aspect of understanding gender in terms of its sensitivity, and this we look at it in terms of policy design. And if I give an example of IUIU, we do not have a policy on gender, so this is what we need. We also need to look at the visibility. If you came in IUIU, would you visibly see gender at its play? I think as IUIU, they have tried. We have so many ladies in topmost positions and they've done well. And IUIU has a fully-fledged females campus. That is to show you that it applauds and it lifts women. We need to look at our curriculum. What is there for women? Programs, admissions, applications, rules and what? Regulations. Do they have that bias on sensitivity on what? On gender. We need to be cooperative in seeing this happen. We need equal what? Opportunities. And Muslim institutions, whether they are NGOs, whether they are education, they need to borrow a leaf from the Quran, Sunnah, and Hadith so that we see changes happening. But for us to implement gender sensitivity, we need to look at the indicators. We need data. You need data to disprove or approve gender in terms of thinking that you need rights as women, and how are you going to receive this? Then we need to look at what is specifically reserved for us in IUIU. Do we have those positions that are typically women, maybe apart from females campus, where the campus director will be definitely female? But I've never seen a university coordinator being the female, male. Why? Because this man must have strength to deal with these boys. And the lady is not really strong enough. Then we need implicitly to be gendered. And this means, let us look deeper into what women do at home. Time for cooking, time for firewood, time for garden, time for babysitting, time for work, time for... Why are you demanding the same things for men and women, yet women have already so many burdens? That is why I'm saying implicitly gendered. We need to be implicitly gendered, and we look into issues affecting what? Women. And then we need to have separately men and women in terms of percentages. I don't know, people are saying that they are receiving information, but research indicates that there is really information lacking from national level, local government level, and institutional level about the openings, the opportunities for both women and what? And men. And then gender core courses for IUIU students. If we want to really bring gender in the Islamic perspective, then we need to also have a course on gender. Let the students of IUIU come and do a core course on gender, then we shall say that we are gendered. The ladies will be trained on how to understand their roles better according to the Quran and Sunnah. And then we shall look at what socially it has been constructed, and then we support one another. So IUIU, if I took IUIU as an example, I'm giving, I think the best example really, IUIU has tried. We have a females campus. We have female leaders, deans, professors, directors, administrators, academic registrar, PRO, public relations officer. We have senior lecturer, majority of lecturers at females campus are females. So IUIU as an institution has really tried. We need a supportive framework, capacity building. We need to build capacity in gender. So let us have some stuff going for these courses sponsored by the university, so that we can now start seeing genderness in the perspective of Islam and in the world perspective, and then we meet each other halfway. Then we need to have those ones who look at indicators of data, analyze it, bring stakeholders on board, look for finances to finance these projects that we really want to see happening, and then involve women. Let the ladies participate. And I'm happy to say that, for example, at Females Campus, women are participating in everything. The guild president is a woman, a girl, a lady. The cabinet are female. So we are giving them platform to what? To participate. Gender awareness. Are we aware of what is happening? The minute a woman produces a baby, that is when awareness starts. They say, oh, congratulations, a girl, a boy, a girl. She has produced sugar. Now you see, a boy, this one has to struggle to survive. Now, that is when gender awareness starts at birth. But after that, we are saying gender is everywhere. It is in our physical spaces, it is in our social activities, it is in our career. don't do that course, it is for male. Or for it is manly, it is, you know, more for masculine. Don't go there. Parenting roles have told us whether we are women or men. Spending habits, women like to do window shopping or shopping too much, you know, and then sports and recreation. Very few women are in sports. Today there is a campaign to put women up there in sports. World over, they want women to join what? Sports. So we need to think outside the box, inside and outside the box. And that is acceptable behavior and unacceptable what? Behaviors. And these can be constructed by us today, using Muslim institutions through the Quran, Hadith, and Sunnah, and then the world view. So what are the roles typically assigned to one gender? The institution, the family, the society will construct these ones, but you cannot tell a man to do that. So what caused the change, members? As I said, sexual harassment, gender-based what? Violence. How, you know, how can you tell it is sexual in what? In nature. It is unwanted, it is persistent, you avoid the person or the situation at all costs. So these were red flags that actually brought the change that we want to see today. So we talk about gender integration. And there is a diagram there. We need to be aware, avoid gender blindness. We are tired of exploiting us. We want to be accommodated and we want to see transformation what? Taking place. This is the only direction that we have to go. So, but do not harm anybody. And I think this, using guided by Islam, this can be achievable. Key challenges. What are the key challenges now? Number one, we need to implement the concession agreements that Uganda signed globally. We still have traditional roles for females, whether we want it or not. That is a challenge. I was leaving work 3 days ago and my husband called me at around 4, because during Ramadan we leave at 3, beating the jam, and he was telling me, please rush and cook for me rice because it is what I have to take for. And then I was like, hey, really? I'm from work, but I also must run through the jam and I must get home on time. I don't want him to get annoyed. So men should know we are carrying a lot on our plates. So juggling home and what? And work is a challenge. Lack of support from our spouses. Muslim men must stand back and fear. When we talk to women to go back to school, they say, my children, my husband. Then when you go further to ask someone who tell you, you know, my husband, when we discuss, he says that he will marry a second wife. So this is it. The woman is fearing that the man will marry a second wife. The man is fearing that when this woman goes for a PhD and they become a doctor of ICT, a doctor of this, they will, you know, grow wings. We need to unpack. We need to unpack. Limited, we have limited jobs in the top position. Like I said, the act says the rector should be a male. A female can also be a what? A rector. Institutions have not supported the gender roles. For example, mother and breastfeeding. In IUIU, do you have a breastfeeding room? After 3 months of maternity leave, what do you expect me to do with my baby? I should come with my baby to work and I should expect a room where my child should be taken care of. I must do breastfeeding for 2 years. How have institutions supported all this? Lack of gender policies, there is none. We are trying to craft one. You know, bigger shares are given to men, not to women. How many scholarships come and they are given to men than what? Than women. This is what we are saying. Stereotyping has continued. I gave you an example of myself in IU meetings where there is not a tea girl and I'm told to serve tea and I serve. But in my heart of hearts, I'm like, when in this end, education is a priority according to sustainable development goals. But you know what? It is still a priority for men than what? Than women. Then fear. We need to unpack this fear. What are the prospects? Prospects in here, we look at the teachings of Islam. The Quran, the Sunnah, and the Hadith has already guided us. Can we use this guidance in formulation of Islamic policies? Islam has already elevated women. For me, after doing this research, I feel I'm really in the sky. So, you know, we need training. We need training. Men need to know that once we are not taken care of well and given our rights according to the Quran, you know, it is only a happy woman that will love the husband. I cannot take good care of you when I'm annoyed of your behavior. So, for happiness of men, make sure a woman is happy. Equal opportunities. I'm talking of Muslim institutions, IUIU, for further studies. Equal opportunities for development. There are roles, there are positions I've watched for some good time. For example, Basa. I've never seen a female Basa. Does that mean that it is only men who can do that role? I don't know. So women can also serve better. Okay, now that is what brings us to lastly, gender mainstreaming. And gender mainstreaming will help us by using the principles of Islam through the institution, drafting policies and programs. So it is important that we understand the cross-cutting issues, respond to commitments, to see change coming, to ensure that we have equality, the way the Quran stated it. Then building on the body of what? Of evidence. We need to build on the body of evidence and using Muslim institutions like IUIU. Okay, it is not an end to itself. We know there is so much that will come with what we are looking for, gender sensitivity and gender awareness. So it is important that we promote gender equality. Gender policy. Members, as I've said, we do not have this policy and many institutions do not. But please remember, it is a requirement for accreditation. National Council for Higher Education is pushing for a gender directorate in every university. And you must not lag behind. And I want to still make this request that gender department should be headed by a woman. Because now we know that the Quran has said that we can actually do some of these things. So let us look at competence, capacity, and processes of how this is going to be implemented. And stop necessarily, you know, looking at it as a gender perspective in terms of its analysis. So gender mainstreaming now will help us in terms of every policy activity has a gender perspective in its implementation. Gender analysis will improve effectiveness in terms of running programs in the university, and then needs the rights for all stakeholders. So all stakeholders will be engaged to see success coming. Okay, what is the objective of gender mainstreaming? Make gender more visible. We want to see visibility of women. Transform institutions, IUIU. Ensure that power and resources are deployed what? Equitably. That is gender mainstreaming. Gender mainstreaming, members, is not about favoring women over men. It is not men and women already equal, no. It is only for policy related in terms of women and issues affecting what? Women. We are not here to say we are equal with men, no. And we are not here to say let us be favored, no. But can we be compensated for the time you have consumed and for the unfairness that you have made us go through? That is gender mainstreaming. So equality doesn't mean justice. So we want equality and what? And justice. Affirmative action. The level of playing field should not have any discrimination against what? Women. We need additional resources and training. Gender differences may be influenced by structural differences. So as I said, we are all not the same. So let us be mindful of structural differences. Gender responsiveness and budgeting, we need to budget for these issues. So budgeting to account for the differing needs of men and women. This budget should be there and ensure that resources are being spent not in a discriminatory manner, and that we are calling for policy. Gender mainstreaming, in terms of its strategies and tools, members, we need to strive for gender balance in terms of allocation of staff, experts, enable women and men to participate equally, include gender evaluation in terms of policy creation, resources, training, and then we can see this in terms of monitoring and evaluation. We want to evaluate and see where was IUIU in gender mainstreaming 2021, where is IUIU in 2025. Involve women and men in consultation, so we don't leave our men behind. We love you so much, you compliment us. Include sex disaggregation of data. We want to see how many female lecturers, how many male lecturers, how many female administrators, how many. That data will help us to justify our foundation of understanding gender mainstreaming. Formulate gender sensitivity in terms of specific objectives, indicators, and activities. So it is very important that we involve women and men, include all sex, but be very careful with data. Formulate gender sensitivity or specific objectives in terms of indicators and activities. And by doing that, we shall acquire what we have been looking for. I thank you very much. Any questions? And Eid Mubarak.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Madina. I'm very sure that this presentation has been to the expectations of the many, including me, the moderator. Thank you so much, and barakallahu fikum. Please, members, we welcome questions. You can raise your hand and you ask a question, but when you're asking a question, you have to be very straight to the point. Secondly, I would wish to first read the comments. Dr. Madina, there was a comment that was pertaining the part one of the presentation, that was the gender equality. I'm just checking in the chat here. So I'll be monitoring the hands if someone is raising up a hand to ask a question, and please, you have to be straight to the point. The first question was asked by Tajuddin Sani. Okay. He was asking a question regarding the social construction, about gender being socially constructed. And he was saying that this denotes that a person's gender cannot be different from his sex. Are you getting the question, Dr. Madina?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So, so let me just read from here, because my screen is So he was asking that, is this view in line with the Quran? The verse in the Quran that states that we created among others men and women, we created among others men and women. Let not any one of you convert what Allah has bestowed on others. For men is part and for women. I don't know if you have understood the question, but it was about gender construction.
Yes, I've understood the question. And I think this is where the point of argument arises. The Quran has already stated, yes, we are. But it did not go deep down in constructing those roles in society like society does. As I have told you, that for us to start awareness, the awareness point is when I give birth. When a woman is pregnant, they say, congratulations. The minute you give birth, they say, is it a boy or a girl? And the minute they see it is a girl, they will start commenting, or a boy. Okay, for example, you have produced sugar. What does that mean? It means a man will come to your house and ask for your daughter's hand in what? In marriage. We have seen societies, cultures, giving construction in line with what they think a woman should be, a woman should behave, a woman should do, which the Quran has not gone ahead to do. And either we perceive and accept out of ignorance, or we accept to fit in society. For example, we all know that from where you come from, your background, your mother must have sat you down, your auntie, and spoke to you about your roles as a woman. This is what you must do. If you do the opposite, society will look at you as a bad girl. So are we here for society, or we are here to follow the Quran? Or are we here to look for a relationship between the two? I think this is where we derive this discussion, that the Quran is very clear, the Sunnah and the Hadiths, but society has constructed us. And the person who has wrote this comment is also aware that he has his own sociological constructions about who is a man, who is a woman, who is a girl, and who is a boy. So this is how we were brought up to believe that that is who we are. And I'm saying today we need to unpack this. The young are putting a lot of questions about what society has for them. And this is why you see the young is fighting for change. And this is why you see today many boys are plaiting their hair. And the minute a boy has plaited hair, he's a spoiled boy. But does that really mean so? It doesn't. So I think it is a very good question that should ignite debate. Where do we follow? Where do we get the baseline to start our arguments? Where were we before? Where do we want to go? And using Islamic institution as a basis, we are saying, let us be guided by Islam. And it is from there that once training has taken place, because so many Muslims, I told you, I gave you an example during a burial ceremony, where someone was giving out property by himself and even made a comment, I don't want anybody to question me. But property is not given out by an individual. It follows the principles of Sharia. So there is a lot we have to deal with as a Muslim community in gender. And I appreciate this comment and question. And I think it serves as a basis of discussion and argument. Yeah. Depending on which line of thought he's coming from. But I think it is the beginning of where we want to go.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for that. And I think another thing that we have to notice from here is that we have a gap in terms of research about Islam and gender. And because he was comparing the Western or secular, the secular view of the gender and the social construction vis-a-vis the Islamic view. But now, as Muslim scholars, what have we done? You, Dr. Medina, as a Muslim elite woman, what have you done? Which kind of research have you done that is in line with Islam and gender? And we are talking about policy, and we are imploring the institution to provide the platform. But what have we done as women? Because you mentioned in your discussion that so many women are in high-profile positions here in IU. So that means that the fault is on us to sit here and wait for them to do it for us. And then there is also another question that was asking about the sexual encounters between married persons. This was by Mukasa Akram Sali. He was saying that sexual encounters between married persons, as far as the new law is concerned, we don't reach orgasm at the same time. Is this tenable?
I think whether it's tenable or not, it has to be tested. As a researcher, I want to say that they made a hypothesis, so test it. You understand, the act is already in place, right? So we really need a lot of enlightenment. We have gaps even in understanding our religion and its perception and perspectives of what it says. Clear? So I may understand his position, Akram, but it is already there. Now, how do we fit in? So we need to bring in our faith in understanding all these laws that are being drafted, because we are not coming from a Muslim country. We are not ruled by Sharia. What do you do? So I think we need to find a leveled ground, a middle ground between secular and Islam. Otherwise, whatever you say, the act is already in place. So we need to test the hypothesis and maybe discuss the results later. Of course, this has proven that this topic is a very sensitive topic, and I think it is from here, as we go forward, it is going to ignite a lot of debate.
Yeah. Okay, before I go to Ahmed, I'm seeing a hand up. There is someone who put up a comment. I find it very interesting that many Muslim women in this country suffer in silence due to the claim men have that women are to be disciplined by men, hence gender-based violence. Now, you have talked a lot about the favors and the hierarchy we have in the Quran and as shown in the Sunnah. But what do you think should be done as far as this comment is concerned?
Okay, I find this question very interesting. I'm personally trying to divert my academic career to gender because I found it too interesting. I think it is number one, it is not right for women to suffer in silence because research has proven that gender violence, especially in homes, has caused a lot of psychological torture, which has ended up in mental diseases. And I want to encourage that sister that there are many forums in which she can actually open up. And this is an eye-opener. Do we have like a Muslim NGO where such women can run to for support? You know, it can be psychological, sociological, financial, in many ways. But do not suffer in silence. One, you have your parents, share. You have your Muslim sisters. You have the imamat in the mosque. You have imams in the mosque where you go. Share this information so that this husband of yours can be brought to book. They will tell him or teach him the teachings of Islam. And once he's aware, I think his perception towards this will change. We must say no to gender-based violence, and we must say no to domestic violence. I do not encourage any Muslim woman to remain in a violent marriage. In spite of the benefits, you need to talk about these issues and you need to do everything within your powers as a woman to see that change that you want in your husband in terms of the respect he has to give you. There is so much that women are suffering. For example, I know of many women suffering because of failing to cope up with their husbands marrying a second, third, and fourth wife. And I think that it depends on what a woman calls suffering. But if you remain submissive where life is so oppressive, then you're going to kill yourself in broad daylight. Because you will lose your senses, you will lose your understanding. As women, we need to know that we have a right to serve in our communities, we have a right to serve in our society, we have a right for career growth and development, and we have a stake in the development of Islam as a religion, but also we have a stake in the development of this country. So there should be a way in which she has to share, following an English saying that a problem once shared is half what solved. Do not suffer in silence.
Yeah, that is very true. But of course, they also say that an informed person is what? Many of the women outside, they are not informed. I would wish to rectify something small before I go to Ahmed and then to Dr. Halima. You mentioned something about the position of the rector, saying that it requires someone to be a male Muslim. But according to section 22 of the Act, subsection 1, it says that the university shall have a rector who shall be appointed by the council from among persons who, A, are Muslim citizens of member states, and B, have distinguished themselves in Islamic, scientific, and academic matters. So that was a clarification. So now I think I can go to Ahmed. Please unmute your mic.
But before you leave that, in the same act, I don't remember where exactly, but it stated it should be a Muslim man. It is on that basis that I challenged it.
No, not where the rector is. Maybe they were talking about another position, but where the rector is, that is, you look at section 22 of the Act, where they have written rector, section 22. It only has A and B, being a Muslim citizen of member states, and then 2, B is have distinguished themselves in Islamic, scientific, and academic matters.
Okay, we continue.
Okay, so Ahmed, please unmute yourself, unmute your mic.
I have unmuted. I have unmuted. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Imtiaz Ahmed. I'm a professor at Lukanya University and the director of postgraduate studies here. Thank you very much, and it was a very nice lectures that I have received it, and thank you very much. I'm very much fascinated by the name Medina, because that name is also the name of my mama, Medina, the same. My question is,
I have a son.
Yeah. So my mother's name is also Medina, but unfortunately she is no more here. But anyhow, thank you very much. Now there are two concerns which I want to pose it, and this is the concern from the society generally, that Islam talked about the equality. Islam talked about the equality, while in the matter of having the job in the offices, how comes we can follow the Sharia in that case, that by doing the job, the concept of the mahram is being followed. The concept of the mahram is being followed when women are working with the non-mahram. The one question the society has raised, there's one question. I expect that I'll get the answer from here. Number 2, in the gender equality, when we say the gender equality, the people, they're asking a question several times, that if there is gender equality, why women are not allowed to pray in a mosque shoulder by shoulder to the men? The two questions they're asking. So I hope that you will be in a position to give me the satisfactory answer. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Okay, thank you very much for your submission. If I heard you very well, you are asking that why are women not allowed to pray in the mosque, right?
Yes.
Shoulder by shoulder with men.
Shoulder by shoulder like men.
With men.
Yeah.
And then the second question was about?
About the job offices and the mingling of the mahram with the non-mahram. When a woman is working in the offices, does Islam allow to mingle with the non-mahram? Hope you understand the meaning of non-mahram. Can I explain the meaning of non-mahram?
Please explain.
Okay, the non-mahram is a relationship where women are not allowed to mingle with him or talk with him. For example, beside the father, beside the brother, beside the uncle, whom they are not allowed to marry. That's a non-mahram. Because in the offices generally, they used to work there while they have several people, those who are a non-mahram. So these are the questions are being asked by the society nowadays. So I would like to ask you what Islam says about it. Is it permissible? We are talking about the equality in gender.
Okay, members, thank you very much for your submission. Now, for the understanding of Islam in terms of gender equality, I think we need to contextualize these concepts. Given the environment that we are working in, I want to assume that I am working in an environment and I'm well covered. The fact that I am dressed as a Muslim woman in my hijab and the features are not exposed, you find it very difficult for a colleague in the office to simply abuse you in one way or the other. I want to give an example in Uganda here. For the women who cover, everywhere you move in respect. They will say, let Hajat what? Go. For the workplaces, I've ever worked in a workplace that is not Muslim in nature. In other words, it wasn't a Muslim institution. But people would respect that I have a prayer mat. They would respect the dressing. They would. So, in spite of what Islam says, we need to contextualize in a day-to-day setup of institutions. That if we want to understand that this is what Hadith says, that really, this is the sole reason why women should not go to work, simply because they will end up mixing up with people who are not their relatives and all this. It will then mean that it will deny us chance to work. But how do you present yourself in such a setting? If you're so decent, if you know your rights as a Muslim woman, if you know your limits, you will still work very well within that society. So I think the issue here is contextualization and unpacking. Because if we simply fail to bring the contextual aspect to these issues, we will fail to see women as permissible to work in workplaces that are either Islamic or non-Islamic, in spite of what is written. In any case, everything that is written in the Quran, Hadith, and Sunnah about women and their being or they're having rights in terms of so many ways and so many lines has not been implemented. Everything that we hear and the limited knowledge we have about Islam has kept us as slaves. In many ways, we do not even understand what to do. We don't even know what our faith says. And we don't want to attribute this to our background. I think we all have a right to start understanding this religion. What does it say in all issues, not certain issues? But after understanding, let us try to contextualize it. Just the other example that I gave, where many men base to simply say that women are not permissible to what? To work. So it applied in a specific example during a specific time. And if now we are looking at a ladies' world and women are unpacking their potential, and we do not allow ladies to do so because of what religion says entirely, without unpacking the context of the hadith, then it will really conflict, because people will end up saying, after all, Islam is so wide. I cannot implement everything in Islam. I will do what I can and I will leave what I cannot. A line where we don't want to actually reach. So it is very important that we recontextualize. We have so many scholars of Islam. Let them come ahead and what? And guide us. I don't want to assume that I have very good knowledge on Islamic faith. That is not my field of study. So I am using the limited knowledge I have in Islam, plus the research that I have done, to try and understand, unpack this gender sensitivity, awareness, and gender mainstreaming in relation to Islam, using an Islamic word, an Islamic institution. So we really need contextualization. Otherwise, if we fail in recontextualization of issues, then we are going to fail. So it is important that we look into that line. Let us be guided, and then we will know which path to take. And if that is not even permissible, we are already women, and we are already working. And given the times ahead of us, it is becoming increasingly very difficult for you to tell your wife not to work. Maybe there are those that Allah has blessed with a lot of resources, but today times are very hard, especially in countries like Uganda, where you have a job, you're earning poorly, you have so many wives. And you know, you may allow them to work, given the circumstances. So I really think that we need to unpack and recontextualize issues within the current within the current situations. And that is why in one of the strategies I suggested that we need to build on the existing knowledge. You would find that when we recontextualize or look at issues in the actual context in which they occur, using the available hadiths and sunnah, we will end up bringing up new knowledge, because we will be recontextualizing, the issue within Uganda, within Kenya, within Tanzania.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Madina, for that response. And I think you have answered it well. You know, with prayer, they gave guidance. We are not supposed to mix together, but when they were permitting women to work, I think we shall seek further guidance on this from the Islamic scholars. But if it were there, then they would have also described. I think now we shall, I don't know if Ahmed, you still have a further question.
No, I don't have a further question actually. Maybe I can assist on that two question. Even though I raised the question, my intention is to raise the question to provide the knowledge to the people, those who are really, they really need on that one.
Okay.
The question number two, actually, the why the men and male and female, they are not praying by shoulder. The reason behind it, because Islam, innamal insan khuliqa ala fitratihi. Islam is born, the human being is born on nature. So Islam is also advocate the naturality. And then when in that case, it doesn't mean that Islam doesn't want to give the equality. Islam actually want to prevent all social ill will. When it's allowed for the women and men together, there shall be a chances of the temptation from the both sides, which is very much natural. Because Islam doesn't want to have this kind of social evil on that. So that was the reason. Sometimes the Islam has, when we have the order of that one, what I came across to know that the men and then children and then the third one should be for female. So it doesn't mean that Islam does not give the equality. Equality is there, all aspect. That's number one. Number two, about the question about the mahram and non-mahram issues about that. Doctor is very much right, and I am also thinking about that. This should be given according to the Imam Hanifa, what he said about the word he's using, umumul balwa. If someone knows the fiqh, maybe he knows about it, umul balwa. And that umul balwa should be avoided somehow, as the doctor has already given an point on that, if a woman who is going to face in the office and or non-mahram who is not permissible to talk, if he has wear the proper hijab, and he is just not having a kind of a physical relationship or something like that, and then he's just talking, so that should be permissible until he or she they are thinking that they are safe and secure in that region. So here maybe I request the doctor to concern with the jurist. I'm not official jurist basically, but I have worked on the jurisprudential issues. My doctorate degree on jurisprudential, and I work on that one. That's what I know some little bit. I hope that I have answered it somehow. And then in that issue, because the people, those who have written, I hope they will go through that. So thank you very much, and it's a very informative, and thank you very much, Dr. Medina.
Okay, thank you so much, Ahmed. Dr. Medina, please, sorry, Dr. Halima, please unmute. Okay, your mic is already unmuted. Ahmed, please mute your mic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I thank Dr. Medina for a great presentation, and indeed this is a topic that I think could go on for even 3 days when we really try to analyze the gender roles and gender sensitivity. But what I wanted to talk about is that I believe, and I think there are a lot of evidences that show that Islam has uplifted the woman, and her position in Islam is very clear in terms of work, in terms of leadership, and so on. And the permissible grounds are also known. For example, you can't say you want to go to work and then you are not dressed modestly according to the Islamic principles that cut across. But what I really want to point out is the gender sensitivity, gender roles, and so on cannot be solved if the attitude, not generally of society as such, but especially of our Muslim community and Muslim men. They have to play their role in trying to put this in the right perspective. I've got many instances where you find highly educated Muslim men, highly educated scholars, highly educated, people, position sheikhs, and so on. But sometimes you find that their attitude towards women and women issues are so anti-Islamic that you really wonder. Some of them, they're treating their wives really badly. Some of them, and really, if we want to solve this, I'm talking now about the challenges that are there. We really need to do a lot of work on attitude change, because it is the leaders in our Muslim societies, especially men, and our scholars who will examples. I know people, I'm sorry to mention you, Dr. Imam Kasozi, you took care of your wife even up to the last moment, and those are role models, and these are issues that are so commendable, and we need roles, gender sensitivity, and so on, to really lead by example, so that we see these things, our sons see these things, our grandchildren, our grandsons see these things, and they place them in the right context. So my point today, among all the others that Dr. Medina has pointed out, and all the people who have put their comments there and so on, is this attitude change towards, we have been told, and I also know it, that
Dr. Halima, your network is not good.
The position of the rector is not tied to the female, but I know also the very... Oh, sorry. I know the rigid nature that we have in the system. And so the system needs to release that by attitude change. I thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you so much.
I submit.
Thank you, Dr. Halima, for that submission. Wonderful submission. So the fear, the attitude, she has talked about, and indeed, this is where we are coming from, that until Muslim men in our societies unpack themselves, this cannot be attainable. And that is why we are saying, PRO, we need men on board.
Yes.
For them to understand that we want to make our humble contribution before we die. It is our sole responsibility to do this. And this brings me to what Imam Kasos has written here. Society is guided by values, customs, practices, norms, and beliefs, which we all agree and have discussed it above. What is our stand on the above? We are saying that these are socially constructed. Okay? So how effective are they? Are we implementing our guidelines? That is the issue. So it remains a question of debate. We are Muslims. We are supposed to follow the Quran. Society has also designed how they want us to construct ourselves. So what are we going to do as a Muslim community within a non-Muslim community or setting? Apart from working in IUIU, you have a life outside IUIU. That is where you came from, where you're going to be buried, where you grew up from. What does society expect from you? So is this attainable? Is it achievable? And then he asked again here, he's just asking, are we talking about equality or equity? Is equality attainable? These two concepts can be unpacked. Equity is fairness. It is like you saying, I have the rich and I have the poor. And if I'm going to give something to these two people, should I give in equal kilos? This one is already the haves. I have the don't haves. The concept of equity requires that you give less to the haves and give more to those that do not have. But it is a simple concept that means fair. Can we be fair? As simple as that. Can we contextualize issues and understand them? I don't want to see Muslim men like the Secretary Dawa Musa Adamu before me, quoting a hadith that applied in Persia, and you are telling it to me today without recontextualizing it. Really, would that make sense? When you're talking to me, you're talking of hadiths which favor you as a Muslim man, but not those that favor me as a Muslim woman. You have worked a lot on our ignorance. That is what the academic register Dr. Halima was talking about. You do not even mind at your level of education marrying a woman strategically. By the way, Islam judges by intention. You marry an educated woman, not because she is the one you wanted, but because you know you can indoctrinate her, and you cannot indoctrinate Medina. Abakaza abasoma. You know, women who are educated are not easily managed. So you want to manage women with a lot of ignorance, and this is where the problem is. What are we going to do as Muslim men and women of this country to make sure that every Muslim accesses what? Education. So that we unpack your attitude, we unpack your fear, and strive to ensure that this is achievable. By the way, it can be achieved. The America today was not America 1,000 years ago. Those who are enjoying the dreams of those who great leaders of America died, those had a dream, and it is the dream that saw reality today. It might not be me, Secretary Dawa. It might not be PRO. It might not be Dr. Halima, the academic registrar. today, but we have said it and we shall continue fighting for it, and let us put strategies and policies in place. Those who will attain it 1,000 years ago will talk about us who started it. Is that bad? I submit.
Okay, lastly, I saw a hand from IUIU main campus. I don't know whether you have put down your hand or if you have. Dr. Halima, is your hand still up? Because we need to conclude this session in about 5 minutes.
Yes, Madam Rahma, thank you very much. My name is Ramadhan. I'm just here at the management shed.
Okay.
I want to thank Dr. Medina for the inside presentation on issues of gender, and it was cutting across. But I think I also want to say that I had made a comment on the verse Ar-Rijalun Qawwamuna 'ala Nisa, where of course Allah has mentioned that men are protectors of women in that capacity. And I also quoted there's a presentation by a lady called Aisha Prime in one of her YouTube. She talks about the honor of the Muslim women, and in that presentation, she was able to explain why the context to which Allah is saying the men should be protectors of women. There is something that Allah was telling the men to protect in the women, and inside it, she also went further and said, inside the womb of this woman that Allah is telling the man to protect, it is where the earth and the heavens meet. It's where Allah's ruh is brought to the earth and meet, and that's what the context is in that line. Because even then, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying, Allah has ordered him to love 3 things. One is the salah, because it makes him brings him closer to Allah. Then 2 is good smell, because it brings angels around. And then sadly, the women, because of their mercy. So I'm making this submission in line with what Dr. Medina is saying. I think the Muslim women generally, like she has said, the ignorance, I think it has played a lot, and I think something should be done. Our women are suffering, they're beating them, and men are saying, the Quran is saying, beat women. So I think there's something that needs to be done. I submit, Madam Cantono.
Okay, thank you so much, Ramadan. Dr. Medina, I think that I don't know, Dr. Halima, I saw your hand up. Was it up, or we should allow Dr.
My
Medina?
hand is,
okay.
Yes, please go ahead. My hand is down. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
My hand
Okay,
is
Dr.
down.
Medina. Okay, thank you so much. Dr. Medina, please summarize, conclude.
I want to thank the audience that logged in to enjoy this discussion. I want to thank you very much for your submissions. And I want to say that until we understand that this is everybody's business, it is not attainable now, but it is attainable in future. Women can equally serve their country. Women can equally serve their institution. Women can equally serve their families. But all this cannot be done without the support of men. That is why I'm saying, and I'm requesting and begging, you can call it anything you want. We need men's support. We need policies. In every, by the way, we need to see genderness in every policy that is designed. So that then we understand that it is important for us to be stakeholders. And we will not be in position to do this unless we are guided by the knowledge that we lack. We generally lack knowledge. And once we help so many women unlock their potentials who are becoming literate, then as women, we are going to be just a few of us up here making a lot of noise that is not heard, and nobody is making any change. If we are a Muslim institution, then we need to set the pace and example. As I have said, IU is doing well, But everything we are doing it blindly without policies. Can we get back on the drawing board and see what we can do? Can we bring men on board? How do we support them to overcome their fears? Because they have a lot of fear in seeing women growing, yet it is in their benefit that women grow. Once you grow, life is above yourself. Lift a life so that you add meaning to Islam, you add meaning to the religion, you add meaning to the faith, you add meaning to the community, you add meaning to yourself. Life is selfless. And until we have understood that it is everyone's business and it is individual responsibility to achieve equality in gender, then we can talk until camels come back home. I thank you very much and I submit.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Madina, for that wonderful presentation, and thank you all the participants. Just a summary, Dr. Madina has been discussing about gender equality. We can put there stroke equity, gender awareness, gender sensitivity, gender integration, and she has advised us to use the Quran and Sunnah to guide us so that we can make the best of the decisions regarding gender. And please don't forget to consider the context or the context or the situation when you're making judgment about gender. Once again, thank you so much for being good participants. And I think to Dr. Madina and all of us who are in this session, we should remember that we don't have to wait for the convention, for the Ramadan convention to discuss these matters, but we can always organize webinars and conferences maybe to discuss matters of gender. I am Rehma Kantono, your moderator. Thank you so much for having entrusted me with this session. I wish you a good evening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
First of all, alhamdulillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Members,
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi.
we thank all of you, brothers and sisters, globally, wherever you are, for your time. We also thank our presenter, Dr. Madina. She has been very passionate, and would like to thank the Central Organizing Committee of Annual Ramadan Convention. I think it's the first time we are seeing such a debate in Islamic University in Uganda. I hope it's now taking us to another level. I think it's a paradigm kind of shift. So I'd like to thank all the members, and would like to thank the brothers who are out. I would like to thank Professor Senyonjo, the Professor of Law at the University of Brunei, West London. Thank you for being with us, and all other professors who have joined us from different universities of the world. We are coming to the end of today's session. I'm just here to remind you, Bismillah, tomorrow is our second day and the last day. We are going to have Professor Umar Ahmed Kasule, who is going to take us through the topic displayed on the, please, the technical team, can you display on the screen? So we are going to have Professor Umar Kasule, who is going to handle
The role of Muslim.
Dr. Madina, can you wait for me?
Kasule Ahmed.
Yes.
Yeah, it is the role of Muslim intellectuals in mentoring the future Muslim leaders, bridging a gap between history and the present. The time is exactly 9 to 11 East African time. Then
we also have another brilliant doctor of ours representing the females. It's going to be Dr. Amal Kinene Sereko.
Okay.
He's also going to handle a topic
adhering to the etiquettes of this agreement.
That is Dr.
This agreement in shaping the direction of the Ummah.
That is Dr. Abdullah.
Oh, sorry, Dr. Amar.
Dr.
Dr. Amar is going to present a topic on the role of academic institution in building human resource capacity. The time will be 11 to 1 East African time.
And Dr. Amal is the
Director, Quality Assurance.
And Dr. Umar is the Deputy
Vice Chancellor, Mtesa University.
Finally, inshallah, we'll be having Dr. Abdul Hafiz Walusimbi. He will be handling his topic.
He will be handling a topic on adhering to etiquettes of these agreements in shaping the direction of the Ummah.
So
time will be 2 to 4 East African time.
So members, we hope to be with you tomorrow, inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت ونستغفرك ونتوب إليك وبارك الله فيكم وجزاكم الله خيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
the video.